Hey guys, welcome to another episode of SEO On-Air. Whether you're just starting out with content marketing or you've been using the same approach for a while, it never hurts to revisit your content strategy plan to make sure it's up to date, innovative, and engaging for your customers, no matter what stage of the funnel they are in, be it the top of the funnel, mid funnel. I think you guys know already about these things. According to HubSpot, almost 70% of businesses are actively investing in content marketing in 2020. And hence, developing a strong content strategy is the need of the hour. 5 years back, not many people were doing it, but right now, everybody is doing it, and there needs to be a strong strategy in place to make you stand out. In fact, Dave, who's the ex-VP of Drift and CMO of Privy, he mentioned in one of his recent LinkedIn posts that if he has to hire for marketing department, the first hire would be someone who can create content, be it blog or email, social, video, podcast, etc. So to discuss more about creating an effective content strategy, we have brought in one of the best person who can answer the questions. And special guest name is Miss Mellissah Smith. Hi, Melissah. Welcome to our show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Melissah, the pleasure is ours because bringing a person like you the credentials are really excellent, So the thing is, I'll give you guys a quick intro about Melissah in case if you're not aware of her. So Melissah is the founder and CEO of Marketing Eye and Robotic Marketer. And she's been in this industry for more than 20 years. I'm working with small to medium-sized businesses. And the most important part is that she's rated as the top 10 marketer to follow on Twitter. And she's also top 100 influencer in entrepreneurship globally. And she has over 10,000 people reading her weekly blogs. And in addition, I just missed out the main point. She's also the editor of Adobe Insider. And she also has her own magazine, Marketing Eye magazine, and she has over 20,000 followers on LinkedIn, 80,000 plus followers on Twitter. Melissah, you're awesome.
Oh, thank you. I don't know how awesome I feel today, but thank you so much for saying so. I just want to specify, Adobe is an amazing content company. They not only develop some of the best technology in the world, they're also amazing at content. And I'm an Adobe insider. And one of their content strategies is to have influencers around the world that talk about Adobe and their experiences with Adobe and customer experience as a whole. So if we're looking at companies that really do it well, I think that's a really good example.
Awesome. So, Melissah, I have a lot of questions for you today. And let's see how much you're able to help us with that. I'm pretty sure you're going to help us with a lot of things because these are pretty much there in across the industry, the same questions. Still, people are just trying to find the right answers. So the first and foremost thing, Melissah, most of the content strategy out there, they're doing good. They're pointing at a target audience. They're trying to churn out content, but the end goal is like usually introducing a product or a service. And but however, we have seen content strategies failing as the target audience find it less engaging. And how can we ensure that the content engages with the target audience?
That's actually a really good question because it's topical for any company that is engaging in content marketing today. Making content engaging is, obviously the primary goal rather than just putting up content for content's sake. So what people are really looking for is something that they actually resonate with. So if you think about your target audience, what actually resonates with them? What actually makes them want to listen, hear, feel, experience with your brand, and making sure that content really has that connection point, that chemistry with the target audience that you've set out. The idea of producing content for the masses is becoming more and more obsolete. So if you think about earlier content strategies, people were often just putting up content for content's sake and hoping that it really resonated with everyone. But really what the market's looking for now, and our capabilities as marketers, because of analytics and because of different software that's available, is about connecting on a one-to-one basis. How do you connect with your target audience so so they feel like you're actually speaking to them. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that content marketers face. As a company, we really focus on analytics. So, as you said before, I developed a software called Robotic Marketer, and part of that software allows us to analyze what target audiences are actually interested in. What are they doing online? What are they reading? How long are they reading that for? What websites are they going to? What social media are they on? So all those things are really important to understanding your customer. We have it at our fingertips. And there's lots of different other software out there that gives you little bits and pieces of that. And I think it's really important as marketers, and particularly as content marketers, that you take that into consideration when you're developing content. Are your target audience really interested in what you have to say? Is it going to resonate with them? Is it the right, picture with the content? Is it the right video? Is everything of high enough quality? All of these things are things that you really do need to think about. The other thing is, how do we make it more interesting? And we're looking at a whole new era. Number one, with COVID happening this year in 2020, people are spending more and more time online. They're wanting experiences online. They are needing to be educated online. They need to be entertained online. They need to be engaged with. They need to feel like they have a purpose for being there. How do we as content marketers make that happen for them? I see a lot of companies now looking at things like augmented reality, using that as part of their content to really integrate with their audience and do forward-thinking marketing techniques to make sure that they are actually ignited by your brand, that they're actually interested in participating with your brand and interacting with your brand. So I think augmented reality really is a way in which people are engaging more with brands, and smart brands are using new technologies as they come out. Further with that is the fact that Facebook, Zuckerberg launched at a conference in April, AR Studio, which is a development tool for AR, so that all brands can use it. And I think making that so accessible and making it easy to use is really important. Other ways to engage with target audiences, with interactive content, have quizzes. We know when you have a quiz, you're going to have a higher engagement level. Use calculators, use interactive visuals, use timelines, sliders, video, all of those sorts of things. Very, very important to taking your audience on that journey with you as a brand.
Absolutely. That's great to know. That's great advice. Just adding, it's not just about adding a content, making it more personalized and making it more engaging by adding videos, quizzes, and all sort of stuff. So in fact, there's a whole checklist out there, which I'm pretty sure you'll be having. So so people who are listening to this, we'll be sharing that entire list that you guys can try it in your blog, as well as in your next content marketing efforts. So Melissah, now when it comes to the content strategy, right, there's by default the laziness creep in, wherein so for example, we take one topic and already a competitor would have done enough writing about that topic. So people tend to go straight in. So people try to go straight in and start pitching their services or writing or marketing kind of a collaterals. So how wrong is it now? Is there any reason that, or is it fine about going after, since the competition has already covered it, we don't have to cover it, we can go straight into the marketing and refer a few sources about it? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think people are less reluctant to engage with brands when they are engaging and unique and creative and bespoke. So if you're telling the same story that everyone else is telling in the same fashion, then there's no reason for them to engage with your brand online.
Right.
So that's one thing content marketers need to really think about. Is there a reason for our target audience to engage with us? Are they getting something from us that they can't get anywhere else? So if you ask yourself those questions, you're able to really dig deep into what content is going to be interesting to your target audience. Now, in marketing, as you know, I mean, how many blogs have the top 20 ways to do content marketing? There's a lot. There's pages and pages on Google that you'll find with topics like that. So then the default of most people is to go to a brand that they already know. But if you're always the brand that follows everyone else, they're always going to choose the brand that's the leader, the brand that's a thought leader in that equation. So I think that's really important for people to remember when you're doing content marketing. The other thing is your brand has a personality, whether you like it or not. And if you don't explore that personality and grow that personality and expand it in your content, then there's nothing authentic about your brand. So, you know, we might be talking about content marketing, and maybe in some shape or form, other people have actually talked about it before. But what is our brand personality? How are we actually explaining the best ways to do content marketing, the best way in which to engage your target audience, the best way to set up a content marketing strategy? You know, that is what makes you unique. And your conversation that you have around that and the way that you tell your story is very important to being successful, even though the underlying foundation of the content may be similar to another platform.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to platforms, that's where the main challenge is, you know, how to choose the right channel for the content strategy. You know, so there's LinkedIn, there's Twitter. Yes, obviously you're doing a great job already out there. But when a business is starting out, what do you think is the best channel for them to experiment these things? Because when the website is new, getting on Google, getting more traction for it might take a bit of time. Sometimes it's so time consuming that people might give up right at the start. But there must be few ways around it where they can get instant exposure, thereby they can start seeing some results. So can you share us few insights around choosing the right channels for the content strategy?
Well, the first thing I would say is marketers need to remember that it's impossible to be everything to everyone. So be something to someone. So your target audience, for instance, I'm in the game of business to business. So my target audience primarily will not be sitting on TikTok. Now, I need to own my domain for TikTok, but I don't necessarily need to be posting content every day on TikTok, because it's not going to hit any of my target audience at all, and it's not going to help my business grow. Every marketing department only has a certain amount of resources. They only have a certain amount of hours in which they can do marketing. They only have a certain amount of technologies that can help power their marketing. So what's really important is to always remember, where is your target audience spending their time, and how do they like to be engaged with on that target audience? Now, I'm in B2B, as I mentioned. Now, if I'm selling a dress, then it's fine for me to do posts on my Facebook, amongst my Facebook friends, for instance, and my audience on Facebook. But if I'm selling marketing consulting services, then if I'm sharing content on my Facebook, well, most people aren't going to be interested in it. It's not what they're there for. However, if I do the same thing on LinkedIn and I do the same thing on Twitter and on my blog, then it's going to be far more powerful. So if I'm looking at my business, I'm really focused on LinkedIn, Twitter, and my blog. And if I've got more resources than that, then yes, you can expand past it. You would go to Instagram for branding. You would go to Facebook because you need to be there, and recruitment reasons. So really understanding what is necessary for your business and for your target audience, and how do they actually like to be communicated with. I always say to companies, obviously with deference to your resources and your financial capability, stick to things that you can be really, really good at. And that will always be in your best interest. Another good example is years ago, maybe 10 years ago now, my company was getting a client a week from Twitter. So no other platform, just Twitter. And I'd say that largely is because of how authentic our Twitter feed is. It has a very diverse range of content. It explores not just business and not just what services and products we offer, but it also explores who we are as a company. What type of culture do we have as a company? What are we interested in? And so people were making decisions to spend $30,000 each week based on the fact that they thought they knew us as a company and didn't need to meet with us because they knew who we are and were happy to sign. That is the relationship every brand wants to have with their target audience. So whether you're selling a dress or you're selling, software or you're selling services, all of the, you want your target audience to feel like they know you and they know what experience they're going to have when they're working with your brand or buying from your brand. So, you can't be everything to everyone. I say stick to, 2 or 3 different platforms and do it extremely well. And that will make you far more successful than if you're trying to be everything to everyone.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head when you mentioned about about TikTok, as a strategy for a B2B might not work out, but people try to waste time on it because they say, it's a growing marketing platform and all the other things. But, like you mentioned, who's using that platform? Who's the audience out there? They're millennials. So are you going to go and start pushing your B2B service out there? Then, it's going to be a waste of time. And also like you mentioned, there's a lot of work goes behind the scenes. It's not just even for a simple blog post, there's a process involved, right? Like choosing the keywords, the
Yes,
topic.
absolutely.
A lot of effort goes in. And then when the content ends up in somewhere where nobody takes care of it, then obviously it's a bad signal to the whole effort, right? So you're spot on. And you mentioned that during the introduction, you did mention about the Robotic Marketer, the other tool that you have. I think it gives a lot of information. Can you share more details about that?
Yeah, so Robotic Marketer is an automated marketing strategy technology platform. So what it actually does is it firstly deep dives into your competitors. We want to know what our competitors are doing, what they're doing well, what's effective from a marketing perspective that they've been working on, and what's the results they're getting. It actually helps us better understand our own businesses. Also, it's really important to understand your target audience. Our technology deep dives into that target audience, and it actually understands, are they on TikTok? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? What are they doing when they're on these platforms? How do they like to be engaged with? What does it really fit your demographic? If you're targeting certain people, are they, where you think they are, or is the data going to tell us something different? So understanding your competitors, understanding your target audience, understanding what the business goals are of your organization. If you've got a B2B business and you need to get 1,000 leads to convert, 100 customers, then how does that actually occur? How many people do you need to be marketing to be able to achieve that goal? And our technology does all of that for you. And then it tells you exactly what tactics you need to deploy to achieve that goal. So what do you need to do as a business to be able to connect with your target audience? What messages do you need to be sending out to them? And how frequently does that need to happen? It tells you all of that. It's the complete blueprint of what you need to do as a business to achieve your business goals through marketing.
Brilliant, Melissah. Guys, we have to check this out. We'll be linking out to the tool. Is there any free trial available for that, Melissah, for people to test it out and then see how it works?
No, it's for every company that really has opened their doors. If you have a business plan, you need a marketing strategy. So it's not really a trialing type of technology. It's a technology that people understand. If you open a business, you need to be marketing your business. Rather than doing marketing that, you throw marketing up against the wall and hope it sticks, you're doing marketing that's actually targeted at your audience with the right messages at the right time with the right frequency. And that's what that technology does. So it's not really a trialing type of technology. It's absolutely a technology that companies who want to be successful, who've got goals in place, use to be able to realize those goals.
Perfect. So hope someone who's interested on it can really reach out to you. We'll be linking out to the tool anyways, so people can check that out. Now, Melissa, when you mentioned about the content ideas, right? Well, for these
Yep.
various different platforms. So, what are some of the best practices that you follow to shortlist the best content ideas for your target audience?
So I think the first thing you need to do is you need to have a goal. What does that content need to achieve for you as a business?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at, okay, what is our brand story? What is our personality of our brand? What's important to us? But then what is important to our target audience? And how do we connect the two? Creativity is really important. Having really good images is really important. Making sure that you're building, a solid content strategy and content that really has substance to it and reinforces everything that you say. The right image or the right videos, having poor quality images is a big no-no. Using the same Shutterstock images on every single post that every other company's using, clearly
Right.
you're not going to resonate with the audience.
Yeah.
Making sure that you also leverage your networks. Like, who are your networks? How can you leverage them to connect with your brand and share your brand story and share your content that you've created? Engaging in influencers, as I said, Adobe does this extremely well. They have a lot of influencers around the world that are in their ambassador program, Adobe Insiders. And what's really interesting is we're not paid to talk about Adobe. We do it because we've become passionate about it, because that brand has engaged with influencers like me
Right.
to be able to tell their story on a regular basis. And I think if you can find who are your influencers in your industry or in the business that you're in, and how can they amplify your brand message and amplify your products and services that you're selling in a way that really expands your audience share. Creating content that's on brand, on trend, and relevant. If you're talking about stuff that is really 5 years old, then perhaps you're missing the boat. You're missing that connection with the audience that you need to. You need to be forward thinking, be, the leader of the pack, to be unique in the way that you explore content and the creativity that you encompass in every content story that you tell. So making sure that that's really much part of what you do is very important. And also boosting posts from time to time. Sometimes, a post that really deserves to be shared isn't shared for whatever reason. And just by a little help along the way with a little boost, and it could be as little as $50,
Right.
can actually create a situation where that post may even go viral. But you need to, work out what is a good investment to be pushing out and what isn't. So that's, I think, really important.
Absolutely. That small investment can go a real long way. And also, if you're starting out, it's the must to do. Just pay and try to, try to boost that post and ensure that you get your hard work done content in front of the audience. So that's great advice. So, Melissa, about let's dive into the content strategy itself in terms of the usual content strategy that we follow for blogs is that we'll have a main pillar blog where it talks in detail about a particular topic, and then there will be a cluster topic, which I think the style which was introduced by HubSpot and a lot of websites are following that same strategy. So is this pillar cluster style of content strategy is going to stay, or is there any other way of approaching, especially for the blogs?
Yes, I think so. I think it's here to stay. At the end of the day, your goal should be to create content that is relevant to visitors and something that draws them back to your website on a regular basis. So the idea is to bring them back to your website as frequently as possible.
Right.
While having keywords in your copy is necessary, shifting your focus to owning specific topics will help better develop the content and increase your visibility across search engines, provide better perspective for visitors, and really connect your audience in a very different way. HubSpot does a very good job. They're renowned for the way that they produce content. You know, they became famous for content rather than the software that they sell. And I think that in itself really plays kudos to that pillar cluster style of content and how well that's doing from a SEO perspective and an ability to get your audience really entranced in the content that you're creating.
Absolutely. And you get about 10,000 plus readers every week for your blogs. So what was that aha moment that you got? Can you share us more details about how you were able to achieve it, where you started?
Yeah.
And can you share with our audience regarding that?
Yeah, definitely. So I started on, I think it was Blogspot many years ago when that first came out. And I remember my first post had 50 readers. I was like, oh, okay, this is really good. And 50 readers back then, I thought that was exciting to me, extremely exciting.
Right.
And then I wrote another one and it had 250 readers. And I was like, wow, this is like great stuff. And then my third one, I wrote something a little bit more risky, very opinionated, but on topic and relevant. And all of a sudden I got 10,000 people that read that particular blog.
Wow.
And then it really spiraled from there. Then by this stage I've got my own blog and I wrote I realized controversy really does ignite an audience, good and bad. And sometimes having an audience respond to you in a passionate way, even though it may be against what you've written, is not the worst idea. Because one, it brings traffic to your website, it increases your search engine rankings, but two, it gets them talking about your brand.
Right.
So as long as you're not, racist or any of these sorts of things, I think that if you've got a point of view, then it should be shared. I realized I wrote a blog many years ago, how a woman can make a man more successful. And I laugh when I say that because it is quite funny. But, if you read it, it's like, how do we make any person more successful? We pump them up. We tell them that they can achieve any goal that they set out. We make their lives easier. But it was very much a tongue-in-cheek type of, blog. And it had more than 1 million people read it within a week.
Oh my God.
And I
awesome.
think that taught me a very valuable lesson. And then over the next year, it was another 1 million. So we kind of got past 2 million people reading that one story. And then Inc. magazine actually picked it up as well. So it became something. But the week after, I'm like, well, I wrote that. I'm going to write how a man can make a woman more successful. Very controversial, as you can imagine. And 800,000 people read it, and then over time, maybe 1.5 million people read it. And I think that made me realize that controversial topics really do have a lot of kudos. I then moved over to LinkedIn, and I wrote, I'm not married, by the way, and I've never been married.
Okay.
And I wrote a blog saying why married women are more successful. You can't imagine how many thousands of people wrote the nastiest comments on LinkedIn. But what that actually did for me was really positive because, I had 76,000 people read it in like 24 hours. And it became a thing, and it became a thing that people remembered me for. But it wasn't really saying too much. The story was fairly light in terms of what type of story it was, but it showed me how to be controversial without going too far, but to ignite people's passion. And then realizing, well, how far do I want to go with that? How far do I want to push my audience? Now, over the years, in my position, I've become more successful. So I don't have that time I once had to write blogs all the time. So I'm not getting 1 million people reading one blog like I used to. But, you know, things have changed, but that same learning and those same lessons that you get from that, you take with you. So if I have a client who really needs to have a spike, well, what do? I take a risk, because the spike's not going to happen if you take no risk. If they are really needing traffic to their website, well, then I have to say something that gives people reason to go to their website. So making sure your content strategy fits within your values, but don't be afraid to take some risks here and there, because that is the point of difference. That's what makes a really good content strategy. It's those companies that are prepared to take a risk because they know what the outcome's going to be.
Absolutely. And you know how to make things viral. These are like gold advice. This is really great, Melissah. Actually, right now, I'm already getting a lot of ideas for our own blog, because right now guest posting is becoming too much of a hot pudding these days for people to have a chat around it.
Yeah.
And, you know, but, you know, like you rightly mentioned, you know, the topic, it could be controversial, but to a limit, so that you don't go overboard and but still can get. And I mean, the couple of case studies which you told me, that, you know, one post and then a follow-up post about how men can make women successful. So those two back to back, and with 1 million plus and another million. I mean, these are awesome stuff, Melissah. And it's not necessarily just for B2C, even B2B brands, like I just mentioned. Now, anybody who's now talking about guest posting, it's getting more traction because of Google's thing, and same thing for others as well. So yeah, absolutely. It's great to learn. It's great to learn from you these things. So anything else you want to share, Melissah? I'm done with my questions. It was like a power packed, you know, a lot of strong takeaways. In fact, after this podcast, I'm gonna just send this file to my team here. Listen to this, folks, because yes, this is what, you know. It's not about just creating a, you know, shortlisting few topics, writing about it, and then expecting people to share it. You know, whether we are creating that content that is worth sharing, and that is what, you know, that's what is critical. So awesome.
I think most importantly is for people to remember, you know, the best content will always be what people engage in. So you need to test, you know, content mediums, platforms, and disciplines. Like, try different things, mix it up a little bit, be disruptive, use analytics to fine tune what you're doing and know what people are interested in with real data. And just don't be afraid. Like, don't be afraid to tell a story, but make sure it's one that fits within your values and your brand. But, you know, the biggest thing that content writers have is this fear, the fear of doing the wrong thing, the fear of writing content that's not right, or content that doesn't, you know, they think may not work, but they're not willing to risk it all. And I think sometimes you've got to take a bit of risk to get some reward. And content is very much like that. So, you know, if you really want to be successful, you have to take a risk and be brave as content writers. And you need to have the power to do that. So the other thing is, you know, CMOs and business leaders need to give their content writers the ability to have, you know, to take a risk, to try something that they've never tried before, to do something that's a little different. And quite often they're suffocated because people at the higher level of management are saying, no, you can't do this and you can't do that, and you can only use this word and you can't use that word, and all these boundaries. So what they end up doing is they keep on producing the same old boring content over and over again. And then they wonder why their audience is dropping off and it's not working for them. But hey, are you listening to your audience? Are you evoking emotion and passion and excitement and interest and education in your audience? And they're the questions that all content marketers should ask themselves.
Absolutely. You know, that's solid advice. Now, you know, give the content team the freedom. I think they'll deserve. Don't just you know, tie them up with the brand guidelines and all the other things, so that you'll keep getting the same audience again and again. So hopefully the business leaders go through this and try to give more freedom to the content team. And I'm pretty sure they'll be giving much more better success than they are right now. So, Melissah, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
My
It's been a
pleasure.
pleasure to have you on our show. We learned a lot. I'm pretty sure whoever is listening to this show, they have a lot of things to action on, especially the topic ideas that you gave. They are really awesome. I hope people take note of it and start exploring more on that. And peeps, if you have any doubts or if you have any questions around how to create a perfect content strategy, please feel free to reach out to Melissah and team. We'll be linking out to her LinkedIn profile, to her company page. Feel free to get more advice. Just in the 20-minute session, she has given tons of valuable information. Feel free to fix up a call. Have more understanding about building up a perfect content strategy. I'm pretty sure Melissah's team will be able to help you guys out. Cool.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
guys. Thank you, Melissah. Thank you all for listening to the show. Feel free to share your comments and suggestions, and we'll do the best as we can to improve it further. Thank you.